What's up, humans? Welcome to a new Psicoactivo. This is today's cap, by the way, Joker. Okay, so thank you all for the support of the Annunaki presentation I did on Dr. Grinberg and Jacques Valleé. There's been a development that I need to talk to you guys about of Dr. Jacques Valleé and Grinberg too. Those photos are from summits in the 80s that happened in multiple different places in the world. And I was very interested to see author J.J. Benitez and Grinberg and Jacques Valleé, and the other picture there's Andrea Pujarik and John Keel. So, a follower of the show, a friend of the show, Javier Marcote from Spain, he wrote to me from Madrid and he sent me new information and two new photos that are very interesting. But let's read the information first, because this is in detail what happened in between the 14th and the 19th of October 1985, which is where one of these pictures was taken and where the two pictures that I got are from. First, let's go through where this was and something very interesting that I want you guys to know about. Apparently, there's a scientific coalition that since 1882, I'm going to say it again, 1882, they have been doing summits like this, investigating phenomenology of all kinds and ancient history and all this stuff. And in 1985, there was another one of these conferences, and they talked about 100 years of investigating these phenomena. I didn't know that. That's news to me. I guess this is what the Invisible College is all about. And the fact that this has been like buried in the internet, I'm surprised it's on the internet, first of all. But let's see. The conference is called In Search of the New Frontiers of Science. International Congress 100 Years of Investigation of the Great Mysteries of Man. 1882 was the first one ever. That happened in London, England. And this one was in San Jose, Costa Rica in 1985. From the 14th to the 19th of October. It happened at Irazu Hotel in Costa Rica, in San Jose. The roundtables and conferences that took place there had names and people like author Juan G. Atienza, who did a conference called Historic Religious Mysteries, Initiations, Mysticism, Esotericism, Magic, and Human Freedom. That's one. JJ Benitez from Spain talked about the mysteries of our time, UFOs, humanoids, the Holy Sheet, and the Virgin of Guadalupe. We also had Charles Berlitz, who is also an author. His conference was Mysteries of the Sea, Atlantis, and the Bermuda Triangle. Then we have Javier Cabrera, who investigated ancient history, and he was very much into the Andean culture investigation. His lecture was Mysteries of Prehistory, the Stones of Ica. Does that sound familiar? Then we have Salvador Freixedo, who is a Spanish former Jesuit monk who turned into one of the most important ufologists in Spain and the world. And he's part of one of these pictures that I am going to show you. His lecture was called The Mystic Religious Phenomenon and Its Correlation with Paranormal Phenomena, including UFOs. Then John A. Keel gave a lecture there too. His lecture is called In Search of Old Ancient Answers for the New Paradigms. That's interesting. Then we have Stargate's own Andrea Pujarik. His lecture is called The Paranormal Effects, Communication Through Time and Space Between Humans, Man, and Nature. For those of you who don't know, I already have a video on Pujarik, link in the description. He wrote one of the most complete books on psychedelic experiences about magic mushrooms specifically. That book is one of the most complete there are on the subject, so I would highly recommend it. Then we have Dr. Jacques Valleé. His lecture is called The UFO Phenomenon, Another Level of Reality, in search of the methodology in science in order to analyze paranormal phenomenology. Then there are three special guests. One is Enrique Castillo. His lecture was called Investigation of UFO Contact Experiences. Then we have a Mexican researcher called Carlos de Leon. His lecture was called Investigation about the Evolution of Consciousness and Other Subjects. And then we have Jacobo Grinberg. His lecture was Investigation of Parascience of the Human Brain. But the biggest name here, which took me by surprise by far, I wasn't expecting this, and you guys need to hear this. There was another lecture there from none other than Zecharia Sitchins himself. Those of you who know, he was the one who translated the Sumerian tablets, and he was the one who wrote about the famous Annunaki. His lecture is called Following the Trace of the Astronauts in Antiquity, the Giants, the Mythology, and the Bible. So the two pictures that I have, one, you can see the names right there. I'm going to show it right now. At the far left, there's Jacobo Grinberg. Then there's Jacques Valleé. You can see it right there. There's Ricardo Vilches, who is a researcher from South America or Central America. He unfortunately passed away during COVID, and he had a brother who was also one of the most famous ufologists from Central America. There's Enrique Castillo, who is another researcher who, the one who investigates the Ica stuff. Then we have the mythical Salvador Freixedo right there. He was in roundtables with Grinberg, and I would dare say that Grinberg was invited to these conferences through Salvador, because I understand that Grinberg and Valleé did not speak the same language, so they had a little bit of trouble communicating thoroughly, but I'm sure they found a way. And then we have Andrea Pujarik in the bottom left, who is looking at the camera. That's one picture. The other one is a little bit blurry, but I'm still going to show it to you guys. On the right, we have Carlos de Leon, who is the Mexican researcher. He probably arrived with Grinberg. And then we have another picture of Grinberg right next to Jacques Valleé, who is using a translator to understand what Grinberg is talking about. And he's paying close attention to him. Right in the middle, with next to Grinberg, we have Enrique Castillo, who is the researcher who did... he's from Colombia and Costa Rica, very famous too. So these are the two new pictures. And it is very interesting to see that these summits were taking place in the 80s, and with such an array and variety of investigators from all parts of phenomenology and ancient history. This, to me, talks about how interconnected everything is of this phenomena. And people from that era understood this as well. I don't think we have a conference as massive as this one anymore. Perhaps the Soul Conference, the one that Ross Coulthard recently attended with only scientists, that can be something similar to what was going on here. But I want to know more, man. I want to ask Dr. Valleé or who's still alive from these. I guess only Dr. Valleé is alive. Maybe Carlos de Leon is still alive. And Juan Jose Benitez is still alive. I would love to ask any of them what these conferences were about and what they talked about there and how important was everyone's investigations to the rest. I want to know. So, wow. I have a really nice video for tomorrow where my friend and colleague Ida Cuellar, the documentary filmmaker who did The Secret of Dr. Grinberg, he just opened up his YouTube channel. Initially, he named it something different, but I managed to convince him to just use his name as the channel's name, and he listened to my advice. So you can find it as Ida Cuellar on YouTube. And he's already putting up some very interesting material of some outtakes of the Dr. Grinberg documentary. And he's going to be coming out with a lot of new interviews that had never before seen of multiple people from the field of consciousness talking about their experiences with Dr. Grinberg, Pachita, other shamans, and some of the experiments they conducted, which I think are fascinating. The video that I'm going to do tomorrow is a correlation that I found with one of these shamans with experiencer Chris Bledsoe. There is something very similar that's happening to their brains when this shaman was conducting an experiment or channeling his powers with in comparison with Chris Bledsoe trying to communicate with these orbs. There's I'm gonna explain it to you in tomorrow's video, but this is what the video of today was about, and I just gave you a tease for tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And I want to thank you guys for the support, the very nice comments you guys have. One last thing before I leave, and I want to make it abundantly clear. I have gotten some contact with people who are very friendly with Jaime Maussan and Joyce Mantilla. And they apparently didn't like a comment that I made of when I interviewed Thierry Jamon. He said his piece, right? He doesn't agree with some of the things that are being done by Maussan's team and by Joyce Mantilla. Mr. Thierry Jamon told me a lot of things off the record that I cannot speak about, that I think are very concerning in regards to how everything is being handled over there. And I made a comment that I do believe that there are some questionable practices and inconsistencies with how the body's case is being managed. I am not going to go into detail of why I said those comments, but I want to make it clear that those comments that I made on the comment section of the video were not related to what Thierry Jamon said. They are related to something that I know. And that is the reason that when I heard Thierry's story and I found some similarities on the inconsistencies that I found, that's why I decided to invite him to the show, because I see similarities there and I think that they're not being addressed. In due time, I will release more information so you can know what I'm talking about. But I'm just going to ask you one time, and I'm not going to ask again. This channel is not for anybody else to control but me. I am the one who is making the editorial decisions, and I am the one who is deciding what goes on the channel and what doesn't. I am trying to be as impartial as possible, but if I see inconsistencies, I am gonna call them out. And if you don't like it, I am sorry. I will not accept anybody who comes to me and tells me, you should do this, you should do that, you should retract this, you should retract that. That is unacceptable, because I am trying to be impartial, I go out of my way to not attack me personally, anybody, because that is not my philosophy. If a guest comes on the show and wants to say something that may anger someone, that is not my fault. I am just giving them the platform so they can speak. I did the same with Joyce. I did the same with Mr. Jaime Maussan. I did the same with Mr. Martin Achirica. And they spoke their truth and they spoke their version of the facts. And I thought it was pretty unfair that nobody who was opposed to their opinions had a platform to speak their mind. So that's why I invited Thierry Jamon to the show. And I am going to invite people who are scientists who may not align with these researchers like Mantilla or Mr. Maussan or anybody else who is on their camp. Because I believe that we need to have both sides of the story. And if you don't like that, I am sorry. I am not going to change the way that I report on things. And I will not be intimidated. So if you guys want to have a friendly conversation and an honest back and forth, my DMs are open and I am all ears. But if I get the sense that you're just being biased and you're just trying to discredit people, or on the contrary, just like overly praise someone, I'm not gonna play that game. So be mindful of that. My channel will not be used for any type of biased propaganda. Okay? If you like the content you see, please like, comment, share, subscribe. We're getting close to 5,000 subscribers. I want to thank everybody for your support. If you like the content and you want to support the channel in any other way, I'm going to leave a couple of links in the description so you can support this effort. Any kind of help would be greatly appreciated, but just by sharing and liking and subscribing, you already do a lot. So thank you guys. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.